Have you got it?
Yeah, go
This,
tell.
this is my dad's parents. This is Birchie Turner and Mary Varner Turner. And this photo was probably taken, what year would you say, or around what time? Late 50s or early 60s maybe?
Something like that, 40, you was probably taken about the time you were
See,
married or maybe a
it
little
shows on the
before.
back of the picture.
So it's gotta be over 40 years old.
Right, because, well, they had gray hair,
Yeah.
so they were not really young.
There was a service guy here.
Okay, the neck, it doesn't say on the
Who's that service guy? You know who he is.
back. This, oh no. It's Chuck.
Charlie.
He was on it.
You get behind there. This picture was January 19. It says 66. But I thought
19.
that was the year your mother died.
You heard about him?
Oh yeah, if I heard about Chalky.
You can get rid of him.
It says his portrait was finished January 1966.
1966, okay.
What year did she pass away? Did she die in 66 or 67?
She died the next year.
The next year. So this was taken a year, just 1 year before she died.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I thought that was pretty close to when she died.
Okay.
I didn't know he was down there.
There he is.
Okay, work your way across there, Donna.
Good Jim. Okay. This is George. When you were in the service.
Correct.
May serve the illusions.
Yeah, we're gonna hear some stories. We should tell, you can tell some stories about when you were in the Army.
Oh.
But now this picture was taken, can you tell us about anything about when this picture was taken?
I don't even remember, I have no recollection at all of when, I think I remember when it was taken. Somebody gave me that hat to wear, because I didn't have a hat like that. And that's all I can remember. I think it was, out in San Francisco, I think. Maybe there's a date on it. Look and see if there's a date on it. I doubt it very much, but I doubt it very
Let's
much.
see who's behind here. Joyce and some boy.
I doubt if there's a date on it. I hope there is.
Oh, Joyce and a different boy. And,
She had a
no,
lot
there's
of
no,
boyfriends.
No dates.
no dates.
No dates at all. So I don't know.
We don't know, but it was sometime when you were about probably 18, 19 years old.
Somewhere along there,
Okay.
18 or 19.
Well, when did you go into service, and when, it was right after you got out, or right before?
It was one, I think it was taken when I was in San Francisco. I think it was taken when I was in San
And
Francisco.
the third picture?
Okay, and the third photo.
Don't pick
this-
it up, honey.
Oh, I'm sorry. I had to look and see which one it was. This one was a church photo that was taken when we belonged to Holy Ghost Church.
Yeah,
Miss Biddy was
United
sitting
Church
down.
of Christ.
It was a United Church of Christ, and of course this is Mabel, our grandma, and mom, and we three girls. And I'm pretty sure that this was about 1966 or 67, because I remember when this picture was taken. And I was 6 or 7 years old at the
It was
time.
before we were at St. John's.
Oh yeah, it was before. we
I
went
was
to
too
John's.
ugly
So
to
it
be in
must
the
have
picture. They
been-
wouldn't let me be in the picture.
You were probably
It must have been
working.
more like 65, 66, because I think we started at St. John's around that time.
We joined, well,
Really,
we
I was working then.
started St. John's when Lynn was in first grade.
Yeah, the year of forced busing.
Right, and there isn't a date. There isn't anything written on the back of this one.
Okay, so let's tell some more stories.
Okay, Dad, we were gonna talk about you being in the Army, Dad. You were drafted into the Army when you were 18, is that right?
Yes, I was. February of 1943.
1943, okay. And what happened then?
I went to Jefferson Barracks for induction and was there 7 days and then got shipped to Camp Roberts, California,
Okay,
where I spent 8 weeks
Basic training.
basic training.
that must have
And
been
then
fun.
from there I went to San Francisco, Battery E, on a pair of 16-inch rifles.
Uh-huh,
Uh-huh. And Alcatraz Island was out there in the middle, and we used to use our gun sights on that. We never did shoot any shells out there, of course.
right, you practiced?
But we used to practice out there, and one day, I was not on duty this day, but one day, there was a garbage boat going across the bay there.
Yes?
And the garbage boat was always towed by another boat, and they get out there in the middle of the lake, and they pull a chain, and they dump all the garbage into the ocean. They can't do that no more. But somehow, somebody got their azimuth. Azimuth is a thing that goes back and forth this way, and elevation is up and down. Well, they got their azimuth and elevation crossed up, and they sent the shell out there, and it hit that garbage boat.
Whoops.
Whoops! And that man that was towing that boat, that's the fastest he ever went in his whole life, because he thought sure the next shell was going to be for him.
Oh, good.
And
Has he been outside lately?
But that was the funniest thing that happened there, I suppose. And then from there, I went to Seattle, Washington, and from there I went to a little island called Attu.
And Attu is,
Attu is the last island on the chain going out from Alaska, the last one out.
that's the Aleutian chain, is that
Aleutian
right?
chain, and it's 25 miles from the international date line.
Ah,
So if you go 25 miles out, well, you're in the next day.
you're in the next day.
You're in the next day.
And what did you do on Attu?
Attu.
Rode a boat out at Bering Sea.
Oh, you did?
Yeah.
Yes, I
A
did.
rowboat all by
Rowboat.
itself, yeah.
Yes, I did. I was a young, adventurous guy, and I never thought. I just thought the ocean was just a big body of water sitting there, and I had no idea that it had
Got those
currents.
currents.
I had no idea it had currents, and I took a big old rowboat. It weighed 600 pounds, and I rowed it out there, and boy, it was rowing awfully easy. And all of a sudden, I saw the land way out there. Boy, oh boy, I didn't think I was ever going to make it back to shore. And this is the truth. I didn't think because I had a heck of a time going against those currents.
But you did.
I did.
He said the good Lord gave you strong arms,
Whoa.
and I was really thankful because he didn't think he would make it to shore.
Boy, I didn't think I was. But I
Said
did. But
there
of course I
was-
So did
did.
you get in a little bit of trouble for taking this boat out there?
No, we could. I mean, there wasn't much to do on that island.
Was it a day
Really,
off or something?
there really wasn't much to do on that island because island's only 2 miles by 4 miles. There's just nothing to do, and anything that you build gets blown down in the wintertime. So the only thing you can do on that island is drive trucks or clean up or take artillery practice or something like that. Something, that's about all you can do. There's really nothing to do on the island.
And what were you doing out there, like guarding it or something?
That's all, guarding it, but, well, there was a couple of Japs on the island, and we took care of them quick. And that's about all. I mean, we all were armed.
There were, what do you mean, a couple of Japs?
Well, most of them were cleaned out before we got there, but when we got there was a few stragglers there, and they were armed, but they were taken care of later on.
I see. Okay.
And they used to have what they call a willow wall on that island.
Willow, what?
Yeah, that's a
What'd you
good
say?
word. That's a good word.
Winds.
Willow wall.
I wins.
Willow walk.
Willow wall.
Yeah.
That is a real high wind because on that island, the wind will blow at a very high rate from one side, and then it just like it hits a wall and comes right back the other way.
Oh, wow.
Where they got the name Willow Wall, I have no idea, but that's what they used to call it.
Well, John, Joyce Bennett's husband, who was up there
Yeah.
the same time you were.
Yeah.
That's where she heard about those. She knew all about it from her husband.
I guess so. If you're ever on the island of Attu, everybody knows about Willow Wall.
Yeah.
They're horrible. And it's
You have to
nothing,
hang on to ropes so you don't blow off the island.
and it's nothing to get, and this sounds like a fantastic story, like I'm making it up, but it's the truth. They do have 80-foot drifts of snow.
Oh,
80
my gosh.
80 feet deep, that's right. I mean, they drift that high, and it's not unusual when you go, in the wintertime, when you go into a Quonset hut at night, you bring a shovel in with you. Because when you open the door in the morning, all you're gonna see is a big white,
Wow.
So you have
That's
to
right.
dig your way out.
you have to dig your way out.
You were on this island for how long?
The biggest part of 2 years.
Jeez, that must have been terrible.
It's a
11
wonder-
days of sunshine. Is that what you told me?
I
1
had,
year.
I had 14 days of sunshine.
Oh, my gosh.
14? I thought 11.
Boy, oh boy.
That must have been a tough 2 years.
That was a bad, tough few years.
It
And I
was
think it-
very boring.
And they had to eat all powdered food that was blown.
Everything,
thrown, flown in.
everything, because there was nothing that would grow on this island. Why somebody would want this
What is
godforsaken
it?
island? I have no
Muskeg
idea.
and tundra, isn't it? What they
They had muskeg and tundra, that's the stuff that they put the oil pipeline through
Yeah,
up there.
right.
That stuff. And that stuff grows real deep down into the earth. And you must never dig it out, because if you dig it out, you just keep on going down. There's no bottom. And so that's when they built that pipeline. They had to be very, very, very careful about that sort of thing. But the island, the armor that we had up there on the island, we had 155 millimeter rifles. We fired that a couple of times. And
When the war was over, fired all the rifles.
well, when the war ended, yes, when the war ended, why the general ordered all the guns on the island to be fired. And I stood behind a double-barrel 50 caliber machine gun, and I let go. I have no idea how many bullets I let go into the Arctic Ocean. A whole bunch, I know that. And I haven't been able to hear since. Boy, that was noisy.
So you were there at the time the war ended?
Yes, I was
Because
there
you
when
were
the war
back in
was. I was
43.
there when the war was going on, and I was there when the war ended.
Yeah.
Yeah, and sure. But the whole bad thing about being up on that island was that we were told we'd have to be up here for the duration.
Right.
Nobody
So-
knew how long the duration was.
So a prisoner who was sent to prison, at least he or she knew what their time limit was. We didn't know that at all. We had no idea. It was awful. It was awful. I hated that.
You used to sit on the gun post at night and read the newspaper in the summertime. It was, 11, 12 o'clock, it was still light.
You could sit out there on a gun post at 2 o'clock in the morning. It was all daylight. But in the night, but in the wintertime,
Very few days, hours of sunlight.
the sunlight didn't shine at all.
Well, I mean daylight.
Daylight, you had daylight from about 11 o'clock in the morning till maybe 3 o'clock in the afternoon.
Wow.
That was it. And that was just sort of a twilight.
So did any of these guys kind of go crazy out there?
Oh yes, oh yes, oh yes. There was quite a few guys that went crazy. The way we kind of kept sane a little bit, we take a flashlight in broad daylight and shine it down on the ground to see where we were going to make people laugh, so we wouldn't go crazy.
Yeah.
That's right. We'd have to do that. There was another guy up there called what was his name? He was a Polish guy. His last part of his name ended up in Witz, and he had a little dog, so we called the dog Wacky Witz. And that dog stuck around us for so long. He was such a nice dog, and the day we fired that 155 millimeter rifle, we saw that dog going up the hill, and nobody's
was
ever
it?
seen that dog since. That dog didn't want no part of that rifle anymore. That was the last we ever seen of that dog.
Poor old Wacky Bits.
Wacky Bits, yeah.
So you were very happy when the war ended?
I was very happy when the war ended. Very, very happy when. I got stuck in the snow up there a couple of times with Jeeps.
That's where you learned to drive on ice and snow.
Oh, yeah.
I bet.
That's where I learned to drive. I
You
drove
ran
a-
into the back of the truck one time and split your head open.
I didn't run into the back of the truck with the Jeep.
You were walking.
That's right. See, because you couldn't have any lights on the island.
Oh, yes, yes.
So it's just pitch dark. Just like if you go down into our basement
Yep,
and turn on all the lights, you can't see your hand in front of your face.
right.
Well, that's just the way it is up there, and I was walking from the mess hall to the medics hall.
By the
And
time
it
you
was
got
a-
there, you needed to
And it was
go.
a 5-ton truck sitting in between the middle. And I walked right into the back of a 5-ton
Ouch.
truck and split my head open. And I was bleeding like a stuck hog, and I made it to the medics hall. Good place to go. They fixed me up.
Ooh, I bet that hurt.
Yeah.
Okay, Mark, did you have some questions?
Well, I thought there might be some fun questions to talk about Donna's, when she was just a little child here. There must be some funny stories about.
Donna,
About-
when Donna was a little child, pardon me, Mark.
Go right ahead.
Donna was
You go for it.
When Donna was a little child, she was a very, very inquisitive little girl. One thing about it, she was not bashful about asking questions. And we had some potatoes on the table one day. And, I guess I better let her finish that.
This is the only story you have ever tell about me.
Well, I haven't heard it. I haven't heard it. Let's hear it.
Well, I asked you why you put salt on the potatoes. And he said, because they're flat. so flat. So he put the salt on the potatoes, and then he mashed them down with his fork. And I said, well, now they're flat.
Ah, there you go. And
So,
how old
how
are
was
you?
I was-
Yeah.
I don't know.
Well,
That
Sarah
was-
was on all these cell-free
About Danny's
diets.
age.
But I mean, that's
Five.
what I'm trying to get at is any other child would have never said that. See,
Right.
I mean, because Donna was always very inquisitive. She always wanted to know why.
Yeah.
And I mean, that's how. Well, of course, she ended up with a college education. So you have to.
I'm
submit.
inquisitive too. What is the purpose of all, are we making a book or something?
No,
No. This is nothing
just
other
a
than
couple.
just we thought it'd be fun. To
I mean,
just-
you know, the deal
Tell
with
these
the
stories.
deal with the
Oh,
driving.
okay.
You know, the deal with the driving.
I'll
Daddy,
tell
why
them.
do you move that stick around? Well, that's to go from first to second, third. Of course, we know that now, but she didn't know that. She would ask all these questions. All
That's how
these
you
questions.
learn.
I understand that when Donna was a young little girl in her car seat, there was a story about a little emulating of Dad's colorful language.
Yeah, we've
Um,
been through that.
Yeah. See, I said,
Did you
oh, this
tell that-
lousy thing like this, you know, but I didn't use lousy. I used a few little
A
adjectives.
little more colorful language.
Yeah. And so Donna thought that, well, that's the way you drive a car.
Right.
So you say this.
So Donna was driving. Had this little steering
I
wheel
think this
in
was
her.
when the car was parked at the grocery store.
and
Yeah.
I used to go into the grocery store because
See,
I
when I
didn't
was-
drive, and then he would come home at night, and I'd have to do all the grocery shopping. And if it was nice weather, then they could all sit out in the car, and then I'd just go and get all the groceries, and it was faster. But they were very well behaved when I took them in the grocery store. They did not ask for, can we have this candy, can we have this, can we have that? They would put things in the cart like I see kids do it nowadays. You know,
see, the
they were
reason-
really good about that.
The reason that I had to sit out in the car with the kids was
Because
because then.
you weren't that well behaved when you went inside, and you got left out. In the...
He left him out in the cold, yeah, right.
Okay, sorry. Okay.
At that time, I had a company truck, and we also had this car. But Jenny did not know how to drive, so there that car just had to sit in the driveway all day long, and she couldn't drive it because she didn't know how to drive. So that when I would come home at night, I'd have to do all the driving.
We went to the grocery store on Saturday mornings,
Yeah.
generally.
Yeah. What's
Well,
I
I know
recall.
a lot of times that it worked out really well, because if I would have had to take all three kids with me in the grocery store, I could get out of the grocery store twice the time that it would have taken me if I would have even been with all three of them.
So who was sitting in the car when Donna said this colorful language thing? Was that?
Well, that was one time when that was one time when Donna said all those colorful things. That's when I was driving. See, I was
Oh.
driving,
Oh.
and Donna was sitting between us, and she had this little steering wheel.
I was in the car and I said, where did she learn all that?
I was driving, and Donna had her little steering wheel, you know. And so she said all these few little
Blankety,
adjectives.
blankety, blank, 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 and
Yeah.
and then you got in big trouble from Mom.
Oh yes,
Yes, he
I
did, because I said, what kind
Yes,
of
all
an
right,
example
all right.
are you
See, but
setting?
Donna still has that colorful language even to this day.
But
But
see,
The
that's
boys haven't
but see,
picked
that's
it up,
not.
or she doesn't
But
say
see,
it in front
that's
of the
given
boys.
her a
Is that
compliment
it?
because this is how the child was. She always wanted to learn, always
curious.
asking questions.
Be it good or
That's-
bad.
that's
So,
what little car-
so what are some of the funnier, embarrassing questions that she asked?
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe you can say.
Oh, I don't know, really. Remember.
Well, I don't know if we want to have this all on videotape. But there was one time that I recall when we lived on Parker, we had a house that had 2 bedrooms, and they were both in the back of the house. And there was a square kind of hallway area, and on the far end of that square hall, on one end of that hall was the bathroom. And so our bedroom, we 3 girls shared a bedroom that was right next to the bathroom, and then on the other side of our bedroom was Mom and Dad's bedroom. And everybody in our family was very modest when I was growing up. But I remember one time, sometime during the middle of the night, I saw him walk past our bedroom on the way to the bathroom, and you were just wearing your underwear.
Oh,
And it
really?
was the only time I'd ever seen him in his underwear. And I said the next day to you, I don't think Daddy made it to the bathroom in time.
I don't even remember that.
I saw something in his pants.
Oh.
I didn't know how boys and girls were made.
Oh, really?
That's what
I didn't
said.
remember
And that
that.
something wasn't
There you
brown.
go. There you
Well,
go.
I didn't get a good look at it. I just saw something.
There you go. Yeah.
Well,
inquisitive, there it is.
I remember laying in her bed and how she would go back and forth and rock herself to sleep, and she would go, oh, and then Lynn would say, will you please be quiet so we can sleep? Joyce wanted to get
You don't do that anymore, Mark?
No, she has no problem falling asleep. What was the thing? E-I-E.
No, they just make that
No, they
up.
make that up.
Yeah.
I see that.
It was-
Well, it sounded like it.
Sounded like that. She would go back and forth. And back.
So was
Rocking herself to sleep.
so did Donna mind like she was supposed to when she was growing up? Did she do what she was told?
She was pretty
pretty
good.
pretty
Yeah.
obedient?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, pretty much so. And I think Joyce.
Pretty much, and who in the
Joyce
family
and-
was any more obedient than I? Let me ask
Joyce
this.
and you were. And Lynn was always kind of, this rivalry was between, Donna and Joyce were real close, and the rivalry was always, Lynn was always teasing them. She was the biggest and she was the bully of the family, and she always was getting them in trouble, or getting in trouble herself.
Yeah, she got herself into a lot.
She
of
got
trouble.
herself into
Oh,
She
yeah.
did a lot.
Lynn got in. Lynn got in.
Oh,
Lynn was never very
she was-
excited.
Lynn
about-
was always, you know, if you tell her to do something, she'd always want to do something else. You know, she just.
Lynn was never very pleased about having other children born into the family.
No. She wanted to be the only child.
And she only got to be the only child for 18 months,
Yes.
so she didn't
And,
have
when,
that.
and I
for
came
long.
home from the hospital and said, "This is your little sister Donna," and she probably popped her in the nose with one of these tippy cups.
Yes.
She was
That's
drinking
quite
out
a
of one
lot.
of those little cups, and she hit her on top of the nose. And I said, right off the bat, this is like, you know, it's like I don't want her here. And the biggest part of the whole, this really sad thing of it all was we were living in Crestwood at the time. And we had Prince was our dog, and the dog was there before any of the children. And when I had Lynn, why, he noticed, when I got back from the hospital, he kind of moped around because somebody else is here. He didn't like, you know,
All right.
taking up too much of his time because he was like the baby, you know, the family. Donna came along, things got a little worse. The time we had Joyce, the dog was just terrible. He
Neglected. huh?
just, yeah, he thought he was really totally neglected. So he just didn't want to have anything to do with him. I mean, he was like, you know, I just want to keep away from these little kids, you know, they're brats or something. He thought,
No, he was
you know,
taught to
he was
stay
just-
away from them.
He stayed away from him. He was not a good children's dog, not like this dog. And he would just, he was very jealous of him. And then after she had this episode where she got bit by the dog, which was totally an accident, the dog was not the same dog. He just moped around in the basement and
Well, tell how
he wouldn't eat her
Donna got bit.
anything.
This was the
Well, she,
tail getting stuck in the door. or
Yeah.
something.
yeah,
That's right.
yeah,
Right, this was when I was 4.
four, yeah.
So it would have been like
1964.
1965 probably, because I was 4.
We were still in
It was the
Crestwood.
summertime that I was 4. So it was-
Yeah, we were still out in Crestwood at the
Oh
time.
yeah, we were still in Crestwood, and it was in this spring or summer. Do you remember?
Yeah, it was
what time
warm
of year?
weather.
It was warm weather,
Yeah, I know.
and
I don't know what month it was. But I know Leona came over from next door and stayed
Mrs.
with.
Buckley.
Yeah.
Well, I was outside playing on the swings or something with Prince, and I came up we had a little back porch on the house.
Right.
A cement porch with a railing and
Yeah.
you know, whatever,
Little wooden porch.
banister. Was it a wooden
Or
porch?
concrete, it was a
It was
concrete porch.
concrete.
Concrete porch.
It had an iron
That's right,
railing
it
on
was
the
a
back.
concrete porch.
And I came up the stairs and I opened the door to let Prince in ahead of me. And I remember thinking, I'll be a gentleman and let him go in ahead of me. I remember thinking that. Well, he did walk in and then he turned around and came back out. He just turned around.
I
by
don't
the
remember, I
doorway.
don't think we saw it happen.
Well, I saw it. I was there.
I
You
mean,
were
I
on
don't
the
think
phone.
any of us saw
You
it
were on the
happen.
phone with your mother.
Was I?
Yes. And I was holding the screen door handle open for him, and the door slipped out of my fingers because I was only 4.
Yeah.
And I thought he was gonna keep on going in, but as I say, he turned around and came back out. And when I let go of the door slammed shut.
On
The
its
screen
tail.
door slammed shut on its tail.
Yeah, yeah.
And so he just reacted and bit me.
That's right, I remember about the phone, because I set the phone down and said, just a minute, I have to see what happened here with Donna, and I never got back to the phone. My mother is hanging on the phone, and I, you
So where
know,
did the
she's
dog bite
wondering
you?
what happened.
Right here on my face and
In
my
her
ear.
ear.
Mostly my ear.
Ear, yeah.
Okay. So you went next door to Mrs. Buckley's house.
Yeah, it was almost supper time, it was like 4:30 or so in
Was
the
it?
afternoon.
Okay,
Yeah,
I
right.
remember that. Okay,
Yeah, it was
and then what happened then? I know she,
She said she will stay with Joyce
oh, well,
and
there was some
Lynn.
business about cleaning it out, because she put alcohol on it.
Yeah, I
my
think-
bites.
Yeah, I remember she did some, yeah. Yeah, I
She-
remember
'cause I
that.
remember being in her kitchen, sitting on her table, and she had this bottle of what looked like water to me, and she put this on my
And it
ear,
burned,
and it just
yeah.
about went through the roof
Yeah,
when she did that.
I know. And then
And
we
then-
called the, I think we called the police, I can't remember.
You must have
Did we
called
call
the police
911
because
in those
there
days?
was
I
no
don't- there was no
911.
911 thing. I don't think there was.
The police
But
came.
Came, yes. And they took us to St. Joseph's Hospital, and Leona said she would stay with Joyce and Lynn, and he
And-
wasn't home from work yet.
Right, and
And,
you and I sat in the front seat of that car,
Yeah,
and I sat on your lap.
right. I
And
remember.
partway there, he turned on his siren.
Siren.
Do you remember that?
Yeah, I do, and I was like, where's this coming from? And I guess I was so out of it, you know, thinking about you, that I wasn't realizing we were in the vehicle, that, you know.
Had the siren.
This had
And
the sirens
I said
on
to
it. You
you,
said
don't
something.
worry, mommy, it's just a siren.
Yeah, I remember that. And it was just from, you know, and he said, well, it really wasn't that big of an emergency, but I wanted to get through the traffic, and because it was like going into rush
Oh,
hour,
okay, I
to
didn't
get you
realize about the
to
rush
get you
hour.
to the hospital quickly.
Quicker.
It was- Yeah, he said, so that's
Well,
why
I
he turned it
remember
off.
I was bleeding all over his car, his
Yeah,
police
you
car.
were bleeding a lot, yeah. Yeah, I felt so sorry for her because they had put these stitches in her ear, and you know, it's different to put stitches on a flat surface than in a, and the worst
didn't
part
hurt.
of it, the worst part of it was when they took them out.
Well, when they put him in, I remember being in the emergency room, and
Yeah,
there was
they
a
gave you a
very
shot.
nice nurse there, and she put a sheet of paper over my face to keep the light out, or it looked like sheet of paper, could have been cloth or I don't know what. But it also, I'm sure it was so I wouldn't see this needle
What was going on?
and it didn't hurt. I mean, remember that I
Well,
could
they had it
feel
all
it.
anesthetized.
Yeah, I don't remember her giving me a shot. That wasn't.
I
Somebody-
still see a little bit of scar right there.
I
Yeah.
can still see
But-
the scar.
The thing that I remember more about that than anything else was that the doctor told Ginny to use
Cocoa butter.
cocoa butter.
Oh, yeah.
And Ginny used to sit there for hours and just rub down his cheek and rub it
Her
and
ear
rub,
and all that. trying to
rub
get
it and
the-
rub it.
yeah,
I
so she
remember
wouldn't
you
have
doing
it,
that, taking
So I wouldn't
it
have a
so
scar.
much care. They said that if you keep doing that, maybe the scar will go away.
He said to you, he was sure that I would, remember he said if she still has a scar when she's
21 or
21, I'll
something.
buy you a new hat.
Yeah,
Remember that?
Yeah, I remember that, yeah.
That was Dr. Stevens who
Yeah,
said that.
I know.
Although he didn't do the stitching,
Oh, no, no.
because he wasn't at the hospital.
He wasn't
What
at
I
the
remember about coming home that night from the hospital
I don't even remember how
was
we got
you,
home. He
when
picked
you
us
got
up, didn't
home, you got home before we did. I don't remember how we got home.
he? Did he come and pick us up?
And you made soup for dinner. Or maybe it was Mrs. Buckley that made soup. Somebody had made soup for dinner.
Because I hadn't had anything started yet. It was
No,
still-
right, and it was chicken noodle soup, and we
Oh.
were sitting at the kitchen table at that house in Crestwood,
Yeah.
and you put crackers in my soup for me. Now, you put about the amount of crackers in my soup that you would have liked in your
It
soup,
was
which is
like-
about
it was
300 crackers
It
in
was
this
like
little bowl of
mush,
soup.
yeah.
And I started crying, and you said, "Does your ear hurt?" And I said, "No, it's doing good."
I know, he used to do
I
that.
had on that day a little red
I don't
smock.
remember what you had on.
Little red smock with embroidery across the top. And we'd had soup for lunch too, tomato soup, and I'd spilled some of it on my red smock, but it didn't show it was red. So I
I don't
remember all
remember
that.
There we go.
I remember the day I
Yes.
got bit by the dog when I was
Yes,
just a
it was
kid.
a chow dog,
A
right?
chow
And
dog,
you still
yes.
don't like those dogs.
And
He
my
chased you
grand-
down the street.
Well, he jumped a fence.
Oh,
And I was walking in the alley with my brother, and the thing about that was, I didn't obey my grandmother. In those days, they used to wear snow pants, and you had these pants come up like this, and you had straps over the shoulders, and you had a little jacket
Woolen
about
snow
something.
pants, I bet.
Yes, woolen, yes. And I had a brown, pants were all solid brown, and the top was like a checkered, you know, and it all matched, you know, real nice. And so I said, it was January, and I said to my grandmother, we were going to the bakery after school. My brother and I were walking through our alley, and I said to her, she said, better wear your snow pants. And I said, oh, I don't, you know, they were on such a bother to put on.
Mhm.
And I said, oh, it's not that cold, Grandma, you know, and I just wore the jacket part.
you had a dress on, probably.
Well, I had a dress, yes, but I had just short socks on. I didn't even have like knee socks. And my shoes, and we were walking through there, and this people, they lived like way up the other end of our block. They were about the second or third house from the corner at the other end from where we lived, and we would, the alley was kind of a shortcut, and then there were some stores there that you could cut through there and then just go up to Grandma, and the bakery was right at the other corner. So it was real close. So we were just walking along there, and all of a sudden, this big chow dog, I don't even know, never did even know that dog's name. And he was barking at the fence, and we weren't paying a bit of attention to him. We kept walking, and the dog just sailed right over the fence, past a Bray who was right here in long pants, and bit me in the back of the leg. And they had a teenage boy. And I was just crying, and my leg was just, blood was just streaming off, you know, and it was a mess. And all shook up and everything. And so this kid came out, and he put me up on his shoulders and carried me home. And Ray came running along, you know, and Mrs. Reese, that was our next door neighbor, who drove. And my mother was working at the time. My dad was working too. And so we had to go down to City Hospital, and we had to report it and everything, and they took the dog for a couple weeks, just like they did with Prince. And they stuck a big stick about that long in the back of my leg with some kind of medicine on.
Yuck.
And I remember them doing that, and it was some kind of thing to cauterize it or something. And I never had to take those rabies shots, as the dog was perfectly okay. And then when I got back, Mrs. Reese drove me back from the hospital. My grandmother, was supposed to elevate my leg, and I had it setting up on a chair. And Grandma said, "Now when your mom gets home, just don't get all excited here. Just be calm and tell her what happened." And I was sitting there with my leg up, and she looked at me and said, I can't remember if they had bandaged it or what they did, and she said, "What's wrong with you?" And I said, real casually, "Oh, I just got bit by a dog." It's like, "You what?" And of course she wanted to hear the whole story that, you know, and it was really funny because Grandma was trying to make this all real low key, you know, and don't get your mom all excited.
What?
That seemed like a reoccurring theme in this family. I kind of recall Donna sort of not wanting to tell you things in too much detail because you'd get too excited about it. She thought you'd be too worried about her or something. Does that kind of pass along itself from generation to generation?
I think so. My mother was kind of overly protective when we were kids, and I was very overly protective of the kids. And I guess it wasn't only that aspect. It was the fact that I had been told I wasn't going to have any children. We were married 5 years before we had Lynn, and I was like, well, I always kind of, you know, if something were to happen and it was like my fault, I would have this guilt complex. And I guess that was the reason, partially because of the long period and everybody saying, well, you can't have a child, and several doctors told me, and then the fact that my mother was, you know, sort of overly protective, and I know I was overly protective of them.
So you think, Donna, you have this overly protective gene in your system here pretty strong?
Oh, sure.
Do you think that she is with the boys?
Oh, yeah.
Well, I guess
Enter the kitchen, and if there's something in the oven, she does this moving screen so they can't get near the door because it might be hot, you know, they might be burned, you know, but you know, you can grab an oven door and not burn yourself unless you open and jump into it, and then you'll probably be a problem. But
Yeah. Well, then again, too, I think it was sort of the fact that my mother, you know, she was an only child, and I had all girls, and I thought boys were always kind of tougher, and they could, you know, take more than, and I guess girls were supposed to be more protected. That was kind of another thought that I think that I kind of
Sure.
was sort of passed on to me.
Sure. Well, that's
And
a generational
I always
feeling.
didn't want anything, I mean, I know when I think about it, I just couldn't let go, you know, I just had this stigma about the,
When Lynn went to school one cold morning, I'm telling you, I looked at that kid and I thought to myself, this kid is not gonna make it out of the house. Because she had so
Oh, I
many
had
clothes,
so
she had so
much
many
of
clothes on her, the poor kid couldn't walk.
I know they used to tell me I overdressed them, you know, and I know now that I did, and I realized, you know, that
Well,
it was
there was
wrong.
that one time Lynn fell down.
Well, but what happened, that was very good, but when she was a baby, one time we had this, living out there in Crestwood, we had from our kitchen, went down to the basement, and we had a sliding door, and you went this way to the basement and that way to the outside. And so she was just toddling, you know, and she just got the door pulled open a little bit, and it was like one step, and she stepped off of that, lost her balance, and went down the whole flight of basement steps. And we were ready to go out someplace, and she was dressed for the outside. And of course, being as small as she was, she just kind of like rolled, you know, down. And so I went over to Margie Menke, the next door neighbor, and she took me to the doctor to just get her checked over, and she was okay, but she probably was overly dressed, and you know, she really didn't get hurt.
So
You know,
it's padding,
she just had a lot of padding, and she just kind of rolled, you know, but. They didn't really have a lot of serious, you know, mishaps. They have, like all kids do.
Like
There
all
were
kids.
things came up, you know.
Sure.
But and I was always nervous when stuff happened because he was always a lot more calm in emergencies, you know. And he was a calm factor in the house. And like I remember the time when you were out in the garage and what happened, a board or something hit you on the head. Yeah, I can't remember what it was. And he
Oh.
came in and he did wear caps around something, you know, and I didn't pay much attention. He had this cap on, he was sitting here eating it at, were you kids home then?
I don't know.
I think it was after you were all grown, but anyway, he had this cap on, and I'm kind of like, finally I said to him, after a while I thought, well, she's not going back outside, and I said, why are you wearing that cap? And he said, oh, what was it? Did a board or something fell
Oh,
off?
I
of it or
was
something?"
out,
And
it
he's
was out in
put
this
his head up.
garage here,
Yeah,
and I had something on the ladder, and I forgot about it. Went to fold the ladder up, oink,
and hit him on the head, and
and
the
doink.
whole cap inside was
It
all
really
bloody
did.
and everything.
So rather than, I wasn't gonna tell her because I knew how excited she would, you know, she'd quick
Want him to go to the hospital.
want me to go to the hospital. So I thought, well, I know what the thing to do, you know, so I just called Joyce and Dean, I don't know why,
Oh, they were all married at that time?
yeah. So I called Joyce and went over there and they fixed me all up and I just wore a cap until I could hide it from her until,
Well, you mean you went over there and I didn't know you had even been over there?
no, you
You
didn't
came
know.
back at supper time or
Yeah.
something, you were wearing this cap and I
Yeah.
didn't know what the cap was on your
Yeah,
head.
because I didn't wanna tell you because I knew how excited you'd
I
get.
didn't think it was all, I thought it was just all kind of bloody and the blood had all dried on your head by that time.
No,
It
but they
wasn't
had,
bleeding anymore.
they had Joyce and Dean had cleaned my head all up real nice.
Did they?
Yeah, they were real good.
I didn't
They
even
don't get
remember.
excited like you.
I didn't remember that part of it, but I'm the worst world
Yeah.
person to be around in emergencies. And I mean, I've tried all my life to overcome that, and I guess it's just always been hard. But he's always been a lot more calm, you know.
Well, Donna's a very calm person in emergencies. You know, she just takes care of things and you kind of move through them. I mean, she does a very nice job of dealing with.
But everything all
Special
worked out. I
situation.
mean, I got you to places where you had to go or to whatever. And we got stuff taken
Well, I
care of.
think I don't really wanna say this boastfully, but I'm thankful that all the kids took some of my genes to stay calm rather than all of hers, because
Yeah.
otherwise if they
Yeah,
took
that's
all
a
of
good
her
thing.
genes, well, they
That's a
would.
good thing.
But then, of course, you know, her genes was always real good at spelling.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah,
Donna's got
that's-
that down.
Yeah.
Donna's the calm mama. She's got that down. Do you remember at what point when you figured out that Donna was pretty smart? You know,
Yes,
kind of
I'll
in
tell
She
you,
school?
was
I'll tell you,
real-
listen,
yeah.
Okay.
here's where
Okay.
I remember where, we were in Doc Stevenson's office when she was a little bitty tyke,
Like lesson 5?
4 years old.
4 years old,
Like
real
4,
old.
okay, okay.
And Doc Stevens says, I can't remember his exact words, but he said something like, this,
She's SMART.
yeah,
like that, he
that's
said.
what he said. She's
Well-
SMART, because he didn't want to say the word smart in front of her. So he,
Well, we
and
were at
so
home
he-
and she had to take some aspirins and she asked me what that word on the aspirin bottle was and I said acetylsalicylic acid. And so she remembered that I said that. She didn't know how to spell it or anything. But anyhow, she went to Dr. Stevens' office and I don't know how the subject came up and she said, and I said to her, she said, what's that or something? And I said, it's the main ingredient in aspirin. And she went to the doctor's office and said to Dr. Stevens, I know what the main ingredient in aspirin is. And
You
said-
taught me how to spell it.
He
I
said,
asked
what
you how
is
to
it?
spell it.
And I said,
'cause
ACETYLSALIC.
ACID. I remember you told me this, and I thought it was all one word.
No, I
I
said,
know it's not one word now. You don't have to tell me
Okay,
that
go
now.
ahead, go ahead.
But when you coached me on how to spell it, because when we went to the doctor's office, you asked me to tell him this. And so I told him and I spelled it, because I remember spelling it all out, because you had taught it to me in little sections. ACETYL, you know, and so on. I know now that it is 2 words, Mother, but at that time,
Yeah,
the age
okay.
of 4, I did not know that.
Then another thing was Mary Poppins, that big long word in Mary Poppins.
Supercalifragilistic.
Yeah,
But
she could
that was
spell that.
But she was older at that time.
Yeah.
That was about 8 or 9 or something like that.
Probably.
I don't know. But But that
She
was
didn't
funny.
get that
you know.
side from me, I can tell you that.
Did she ever have to bring homework home, or did she
Sure.
always just get it
Oh,
done at
sure.
school?
Like any
Or,
other kid, but she would get right to it.
but she was like pretty focused
Yeah,
on
she-
getting
Well, I
it
wanted
done.
to do Lynn's homework, when Lynn was 2 years ahead of me in school.
Right.
So I was not even in school yet by the time Lynn was in first grade.
Yeah.
And Lynn had these things that she would bring home from school and she would like throw it on the table like,
She
this is
didn't want to
bunch of
do her
junk.
homework.
And
She was
I-
like him.
And I said, well, I'll do it, so I wanted to do her homework for her.
Oh, I was always conscientious about my homework, and
I
that's
don't know
how.
that she had homework in first grade, but
See, the-
papers or
see, the
whatever.
thing
But
with
that's
the-
how I got, graduated, because I didn't like math at all. I hated math, and my math teacher said, well, he gave me like a poor grade, and he said he had a daughter work for the Weather Bureau, and if your name wasn't Virginia, like my daughter, and I thought, boy, am I glad I got the right name, he would have failed me. And I thought, well, this was high school. This was everyday math. I didn't even take algebra. And I said to myself, well, he's the only guy teaching that. This was at Cleveland. And I'm going to get him next semester. And I'm not going to take my chances. So I'm going to go to summer school. That's why I graduated a year ahead of my class. That was the very reason I started. And I thought, well, I got to take one subject. I'll take 2 subjects. And I did everything real methodically. Took all my required subjects so that the last year that I could really kind of goof around, take all the fun things and have an early dismissal and get out of school 45 minutes before the rest of the kids and that kind of stuff. And I liked summer school because, well, I graduated from grade school at 14 and graduated high school 3 days before my 17th birthday.
I think when Lynn would go to school, and go, Donna would give her right arm if she could have went.
And Lynn would have given her right arm to stay home.
To stay home.
You did
Lynn
right.
took after
And-
him. He didn't like schoolwork.
And Donna got the idea that school was just a fun thing or something like that. That's what I thought, you know.
Yeah,
Maybe I'm wrong.
She just
but I-
enjoyed it.
He enjoyed
I
school.
love school.
But anyway, when Donna finally did get in school, why, the teachers had to tell her to stop talking because.
Donna, talk too much?
Well, yeah.
On the
From
road
the
to
very
being a
beginning, she talked too much because the pediatrician told us when Joyce was little, Joyce wasn't talking, you know. And is there something wrong with her? We're asking the doctor, and he says, Chatterbox over here would say, Joyce wants her milk. Joyce wants this. Joyce wants that. He said, tell her to be quiet. Make Joyce ask for it. There's nothing wrong with her. She can ask for it. Make her ask for
Do you
it.
remember when Donna walked? How old was she?
Oh, I don't remember it all.
How about when she
The only
talked?
child I
did.
can remember first walk was
Her anxiety.
Can you let
Well,
this video?
was when
Keep going, I'm listening.
all right,
Don't you
was
guys
when
want to sandwich or something?
was when we were out in the backyard on Conover Lane, and Lynn was somewhere near the fence, and I was a few feet away, and I held out my arms, and I said, "Come on, Lynn," and Lynn made about 4 or 5 steps into my arms, and that was the only child I can remember walking. I don't remember when she first walked. I remember when she first came home from the hospital. The noises she made as a baby, like it drove me nuts.
She had a hiccupy cry. She had a real strange cry. And she go, you know, and she
Like a dog barking.
yeah, I know, she had this real strange cry, and it annoyed him, you know.
I said, "Stuff her back in."
Oh, there you go.
Well, what was he doing, you know, when she was born? Watching the World Series.
In the hospital waiting room.
Yeah, right.
And it was
See.
coin-operated TV.
Yeah.
Coin-operated
And
TV.
the set went off, and all these guys in Russia
Rush out there with her
put another quarter in or something like that.
That's funny.
See, that was.
This was during the World Series.
Yeah, and see, that was,
October.
Yeah.
That
Well,
was-
they held it
that-
earlier then. They
back
didn't
then,
have
that
all
was
these
October,
teams.
October the 9th.
They didn't
That
have
was
all the
another
teams.
thing about Donna, was that if Donna and Joyce would have been born cattywampus of each other, it would have worked out better.
Why?
Well, because
She's a
Donna was
Donna
smart
pusher,
enough
yeah.
to go to school,
Yeah.
Uh,
She had to stay back longer than
and,
Lynn, because
yeah,
Lynn was
and
born in
Donna
spring.
lost a whole year, because her birthday was October the 9th, and she couldn't go to school in September. before.
Well, Joyce got into the wire because she was still
Just-
born in September.
Right, right.
But
But
you
that
know,
was-
I think there's nothing wrong with waiting a year until
No,
you're a little
no.
more mature.
But
and
they
you
say
handle that
mostly
whole
with
thing.
boys, it's better if they stay back because generally speaking, boys
That's right,
are
develop slower, that's
develop a
right.
little slower as a
So
rule.
what about, when did you get the first inkling that Donna wanted to go to college?
I really don't know.
I guess probably if she'd have the answer to that.
Well, I know when she got her inkling, like when she was born, but I want to know when you got the idea that she might want to do that, or when she started like
Well,
dropping
she
I don't
hints
know.
there.
I
think
know
from-
that she,
I
I knew
think
that,
from little on she always
I knew that
I
she
wanted
wanted,
to go to college myself, but
I knew that she wanted to go to college when she was in her third year of high school, because then, by then already,
she was planning where
she was
wanted to
planning
go.
it.
Yeah.
And I remember, before she even graduated from high school, we were going around different places, getting, the
Sure,
tuition.
applicate, all that stuff.
Yeah.
All the information and
So
stuff.
I remember that.
Well, when I was in my, toward the end of junior, senior year of high school, I really wanted to go to college too, but I thought, my mom was a widow, you know, and my dad had died when I was 15, and I thought that I should really help her out at home, and there wasn't much choice of what you could do when you went to college. You had the option of going into nursing, which was definitely not my ball of wax, because I got too nervous with just raising my own
Yeah, that
kids.
whole crisis thing we talked
I
about, we
mean,
understand that.
There was no way
There was this constant crisis.
I
you
knew
couldn't
that
do
was not for me. And the only other thing that you could, there were only 3 options, that was one. Teaching school, which I didn't think I really wanted to, you know, have a whole classroom of kids every day. You know, that didn't appeal to me too much. And the third was if you just go and, you know, just
Get your-
take secretarial stuff and,
Get
you
your,
know,
get your
doing
MRS degree.
office work, and so that's how I just got into, so I just didn't go, and I thought, well, that could help my mom, I graduated early, but I kind of regretted later that,
Yeah.
you know, but
So were you
now there's many
Yeah.
more fields that women can
Sure.
enter.
So were you excited when you figured out that Donna wanted to go to college? Did you think that was a good thing?
Oh,
Yeah, oh,
yeah.
yeah, sure.
Well,
I was all-
I
was
encouraged
for
all
that.
of them
I
to
was
go to
all for
school,
that.
but we
You
knew
know,
that-
by that time,
We
by
knew
that-
Lynn was not college material because she never liked grade school, she didn't
Right.
like high school.
Didn't like the
At
formal
16
education
We had
piece.
one heck of a time getting her at 16, she wanted to quit school, and I'm like, you know, you're gonna make it through high school no matter what, at least you're gonna do that. If you don't go to college, well, I mean, we know you're not college material, okay, but you're gonna have to at least make it through high school, because
Okay.
there's no way you're not gonna quit at 16.
But you knew Donna was going to want to do the
Yeah,
college
she
thing,
did.
and
Oh,
she,
yeah.
and
I
she
think
definitely
Joyce
was college
kind of-
material.
You know, kind of
Yeah,
regrets that she would have liked to have
we
gone.
knew
I
that, we
think.
knew that.
I think you were a little surprised that I didn't want to stay in St. Louis to go to college.
Yeah, well,
We
I
kinda
guess
really-
I'm overly, well, what do I wanna say, I guess the
We
word
really
is,
wanted her to go to SLU, see, that's what
Not
we were.
SLU, it's a
Oh,
private school.
No.
UMSL probably.
I'm sorry.
yeah, I'm sorry, yeah. I'm
Well, I look at things from an economical standpoint, because I grew up during the Depression. And I thought, well, Donna, that's fine, but to me, if you stay here could that go 2 years to UMSL, and then if you wanna go to Columbia, but she had her mind made up, she wanted to get away right away and go there, and you know,
I
it
think
all
you
worked
actually
out
thought I should go to community college first.
to
I
marry
guess
her.
so, yeah.
Well, I don't know.
But
um,
the problem with the community college was if you went, at that time.
It was
may
like a
se-
2-year, yeah.
And it may still be that way, I don't know, but if you took 2 years at a community college and then you went to Columbia, those 2 years didn't count.
Well,
Potentially, it might not all transfer.
it might not have transferred even to UMSL, you know.
Right.
And so,
Right.
but that's where I kind of thought either the community college or there, you know, because you could stay at home, you save your room and board money, and that was my thought because it's an economical thing to do, you know. But you know,
she
but
had
it
her-
all worked out.
She had her mind made up, she's gonna go to college
Yeah.
and if we didn't have the money to send her, well, then she was gonna get the money on her own, and she did.
And she
Well,
worked
so
all,
of course,
or whatever.
within
she
a
worked
year-
all
within-
kinds of jobs and
Within
stuff,
a
right?
year's
She-
time, the two of them, Lynn left and went to California, got married to Rob, and I just didn't feel at all comfortable, neither of us felt comfortable with that marriage, and we didn't want to say too much because we figured if you say too much, it's going to push her into it naturally, and, you know, kids are going to have to learn some things the hard way, learn them by themselves, and I guess everybody learns by making their own mistakes,
So what did you feel like? What did you feel like when Donna graduated from college?
Oh, that was,
oh, that was good.
I mean, that was
We were
really a
happy.
glory point. I mean, I was,
That's it.
oh, I
Tell me
was-
about what you thought about on that day.
I remember, and what really, I followed her a little bit through there. You know, I was working then, working a lot of hours.
Sure.
And I didn't even know that she was on the honor roll. see.
We're talking about college or?
College, yeah.
College.
I didn't know that she was on the honor roll. see.
Well, that was in high school.
No, in college too. She graduated on the honor roll in college and from.
Yeah, with honors, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I know she did. Didn't you?
Well, I had a 3.5, 3.6
Something like
GPA
that.
in
Yeah.
college.
So high GPA, sure.
And so I was sitting in the audience there, and when they started naming the pupils, you know, that were on this honor roll, and they come up with her name.
Was this at Columbia or was this?
Yeah,
at-
Columbia. We went to her graduation.
So that was pretty
Yeah, I
neat,
thought
wasn't
you
it?
were-
It was
Huh?
pretty neat to know that this how smart
Yeah,
your daughter
yeah, it
was.
was-
Not only just within your own family, but just in terms of all these other smart people that were in college. She was
Right,
distinguished
right.
amongst them
And,
too.
but the thing that I remember about Donna in college was that her main hard subject that she had was math. You had a hard time with math, but she made up her mind she was gonna master it, and I guess she did.
I didn't have to take much math in college.
What do you think? What do you think about her going to grad school after you got done with undergraduate school?
I said, that's fine, as long as you get as much education as you
We
can.
were all, you know, I was all for education because by that time I knew that, from my own life, I knew that what I had missed, you know, was bad. You know, that I knew that I should have went further in school. I knew that I should have, but I didn't. But I knew that anything that she wanted to do to further her education, go for it.
That was good, yeah. And then she got such a great opportunity.
There it is.
She had such a great opportunity with the
Oh, yeah.
job that she got to go to grad school, so
Yeah.
she could go without having to have a whole lot more money to do it. And that worked out pretty well.
Yeah, we're really proud of her.
Yeah.
And then she went to North Dakota.
And then she went to North Dakota. That's
Do you
right.
remember? Do you remember when you guys helped me move up to Grand Forks?
Yeah.
And you remember Mark took us out to dinner,
Yeah.
and we were just he was my boss, or gonna be my boss. And we were talking about when you guys first met Mark,
Yeah,
when you guys helped me move up to Grand Forks with the trailer and all my stuff
Yeah.
right.
from Columbia, and
You had that old car.
yes,
The mag.
the mag.
Mag.
Yeah,
And you guys met Mark, and I think you must have arranged for them to have a guest apartment
yeah, you did.
Uh-huh.
on campus. And as we were leaving, you said to me, "Well, he's a nice fella."
Well, you know what, Dan and I talked about this after you were settling it on our way home. And we said, you know, that guy really rolled out the red carpet. And you know, it seemed to me, the way he looked at Donna, I said, there's something going on there. I said, I think that, you know, there's a magnetism or something, you know, a spark or whatever. And I said, I wonder if this was just how, you know, when people come up like this, how he treats the parents, or, you know, he's a personable guy, but it just seemed like he really rolled out the red carpet, or he seemed particularly interested in Donna. And it just kind of showed or something. And we weren't at all surprised when like a month later or something we were
Right,
dating, and you
right.
told us, and I said, did
I
I
know
tell
you
you?
weren't surprised at all.
I was
you
not
were
at all surprised.
Well, I heard some story about you guys stopped in Fargo or someplace on
That's
the way
right.
up, and you were putting your makeup.
I did my
on.
makeup, and she said, "You're going." You said to me, "You're going for a job, not a date."
Did I? I don't remember that, but I remember when you got up there, it's like, you know, well, I knew that you had met him, you know, before, because you
Oh,
told
sure.
us that. And I knew you wanted to get as far away from Chalky as possible. That was another thing, I think, you know, and I
Well,
thought,
and
why is
really-
he going to say? Because I remember years before that, we were in North Dakota.
Mhm.
And I think somebody made the remark, might have been me, you know, this is about the most boring state. I mean, all I have is sunflowers, because we went through this like
Sure.
section where,
Sure.
not near Grand Forks, but
Yeah.
a different
Yeah.
part entirely. And, you know, it's like, I mean,
There's Miss Penny.
well, you know, there's always something interesting to see no matter where you go, but this just, I really wasn't real excited about her moving that far away, but I knew she was wanting to
But
go.
then when you came up and saw the campus, you really
Yeah,
liked it.
yeah, we did.
Yep.
And, it was just like, I mean, he and I talked about that as soon as we left, and we just said, well, you know, there's something there. I mean, you know, those,
On the way up to North Dakota,
because you were real unusually personable or something. I mean, you had a good personality, but I said the way they just looked at each other, there was just some kind of, you know.
Well, we had a good connection right away. We had a good. Well, we had a.
You mean this
We
was
had-
from Oshkosh?
Well, we
Well,
no,
we
we
did
well
meet
we
in
had a,
Oshkosh.
when she was up there for her interview.
Right.
I was the person that hosts the people that come up for interviews, so we spent a lot of time together because we were trying to get a feel if that she's a good fit for the job. And you know, but I would not say that the attention I gave to you guys when you came up was necessarily unusual for me in any situation when anybody came up for. I mean, that, you know, of course, anyone who drives 1,000 miles to come work at UND and to do all the things, and we're
Glad
going to
to
do
get
everything
somebody
we
to
can.
come
We're
up
going to do
there.
everything we can, not to get some, but someone who is a good fit for their responsibility. We're going to roll out the red carpet. That would be our standard activity. But
Yeah.
Donna and I certainly had a good friendship that came out of it right away because we had this shared growing up environment. You know, where we both grew up in the St. Louis area, and we both, I think, we did have this sort of natural
But you didn't
attraction to each other. And for me, it was very much based on this sense of, you know, this person is a nice person who I think would be a great friend, where we'd be, you know, we get along well together and all that stuff, and we, you know, we really did. I think, and that's where it started. I think, at least for me, I think it was very much that, starting with that, and then, you know,
Well,
one
I
thing led
had
to
come
another.
up to UND for that interview in May.
Right.
And you took me out for dinner to
Right.
the Riverbend.
Right, which is a
And-
standard thing for
Right,
people when
right.
they're on.
And on the way
interview.
home from the Riverbend, we were riding in your car, the Aspen,
That's right.
and we were singing St. Louis commercial jingles.
That's right.
That we-
Earn the hard return on each all you own at Community Federal Savings and Loan. With 5 branches,
And
5
five
offices and 5,000 branches, the mailboxes to serve you.
Oh,
You know,
okay.
so anyway, we had this whole series of
Uh-huh.
St. Louisisms that we shared. So
We
we
talked
had,
about Camo X and
yeah, we had good.
all
it
those
was- it was
things.
good. So you know, I think for me, you know, I was a long way from home too. So it was kind of nice to have someone else that
What's
you know, had
closer
that
by?
had that home
well,
connection
and then
too.
in 1985, which was the year that
Was
I
the
moved
World
up there,
Series year.
the Cardinals were in the World Series, and we were the only 2 people in Grand Forks
Who
who
gave a
even
hoot.
like noticed that the World Series was
Cardinals,
going
yeah,
on.
right.
Because the Twins were in it. Was it that year or 87 the Twins were in it?
87.
So, I don't remember, I don't remember who was it, Milwaukee or somebody in 85. But
We lost to Kansas City.
Oh, that's right. But we were very interested in
Right.
that and
Right.
spent time together. But we had to spend a lot of time together because you
You
had
came up
wanted
late.
the CDs
July
to
1st.
start on July 1st, and I was still finishing graduate school. I didn't graduate from graduate school until August. And so I didn't come up until, actually, I think it was
Right,
the
the first
very
class.
end of July.
Yeah, right,
I
yeah.
missed my graduation from my master's program. Didn't go through graduation because I had to start up at UND.
Yeah.
And so you needed to catch me up on all kinds
Right,
of
that's
things
right.
that
So we
had been
didn't
going on.
spend a lot of time together to
We
do
were
that.
forced to spend all kinds of time together. And then I was responsible for this complex of residence halls, and one of those halls was a brand new building
Yeah.
that had just been built. And there was a lot of work to do with getting that building ready and online, and I had 5 other halls besides that one to get to know and to take care of.
And
And you
we
helped
had,
me
we
a
had,
lot.
we had not had a complex director in that complex for the whole semester before, so I was doing that in addition to my other responsibilities. So there was no one to show her kind of what was going on with that complex except for me. So anyway, we had spent a lot of time together and just sort of re-cemented the situation. And then and I can remember when we decided that we were going to try this dating thing out, and we went on and told people that we were going to do that. And we did that because for me it was a risk, and I wouldn't have done it unless I felt like this had some very strong lifelong possibilities. Because you know, I worked hard to get complex directors, and Donna was a primo person because of her experience and background and all that. So you know, it had to be a pretty strong sense for me as well to even go that direction.
So when did you get engaged, or where were you at that time? How did that come about?
15 months after our first date.
Mark thinks it was a very short 15
Donna
minutes.
I thought it was a very short time. Donna thought it was ridiculously long, that I was waiting way too long to make this all happen. And she told me on a couple occasions, "I'm not staying around here if I have no reason to stay here." I had decided before that I was going to ask her to marry me, but I wasn't going to
Rush
spill the
into
beans
it.
until I was
Not
going to
gonna
do
rush
it.
into it.
I was
Not
gonna do
rush
it.
into
So now, where did you propose to her? Where was?
In the living room of the house that I owned at the time.
which was the house we
that
live
we
in
live in
now.
now, and we were sitting on the couch and we were talking about getting married and
No, we weren't
no,
talking about
we were
getting
talking
married.
about Christmas time, coming to St. Louis for Christmas time. And I asked her, so what do you want for Christmas? Thinking if we'd come up with something that would be of interest or whatever. And she said, oh, I like some mixing bowls. I thought to myself, geez, I could get a lot cheaper than this, you know, and this whole mixing bowl thing. So anyway, thing went one thing led to another, and I asked her, and she agreed, and we spent the first several minutes of our engaged life in the bathroom, so she could look at the rock that she got, the diamond that she got, and then we went next door to the neighbors and told them, and they already knew because they were the jeweler who I bought the ring from, and, and they had the champagne on ice, and they were ready to go, and we
Oh,
so we
okay.
celebrated with them.
They
and
knew, that was so sweet. They knew that he was gonna ask me that night.
This is
and
just about out of tape, too.
They
so.
invited us over, and
Oh, that
it was
was
very
nice.
sweet. That was Steve and
Very
Judy
sweet.
Hess, who lived next door.
And everybody's very jealous that we get to travel to St. Louis and visit both of our parents within.
Oh, people
40
always
minutes
say
of each
that.
other.
Oh, boy, how fortunate
Well-
you are that both families are in this area.
Well, that's
And
right.
my first thought was, oh, he comes from a real educational family. Here's my husband, a high school dropout. I only went to high school, period. And, you know, it's going to be really awful, you know, because they're going to be real intellectual family, you know.
Yeah, my parents intellectual family.
Well, yeah, because
I,
your dad, well, he's a dentist, she was a nurse, you know, these people all have these degrees, and, you know, we kind of felt like, you know, we're the poorer relation.
Oh yeah, not so, not the case. at
I
all.
always felt bad about being around Mark because you know Mark was so well educated and I was such a dummy, and I really didn't. I mean, but you know, I found out he was just really
Down to earth.
a down to earth guy.
Well, I'm educated. You don't feel bad
Yeah, I
about
know,
me?
but you're my daughter.
Yeah, but we were used to her, I guess.
Yeah, well, see, I always liked about you guys is that you know, George, you talk about being a dummy. I mean, you've got so much life experience that, you know, that's a lot. I mean, you know, when you get through your life or a majority of your life living, you look back and say, what have you done? You've done a lot of stuff in terms of, you know,
You
the
mean
stuff.
him?
Yeah, right. Well, both of you. I mean, I think both of you have done a lot of different things, and
But it's
so
just,
I
you know,
think
I
of Donna and I as being these smart people. I mean, we just are very fortunate that we have opportunities
right.
to work in
That's
right.
settings that
Right.
Well, and
fit
I
us.
think too that,
What are the boys doing, by the
I
way?
don't know, we should find out what the boys are
All
doing.
right, go ahead and finish your thought.
It's
Oh, I-
kind of quiet.
I was gonna say, I think in the age when you guys were going to school and stuff, there wasn't the sense that if you didn't go to college, you wouldn't find a job.
Right.
And things have changed, and